Well, we've heard of body cameras, but what about weapon cameras? Tonight I take you inside the Somerville Police Department on their new plans. Plus, changing Aggieland for decades, we have the big news out of Bryan tonight. And it's a showdown in court and at the border. We have the latest on a possible border wall in Texas. Your KRHD News starts right now. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Hallie Jones. The Somerville Police Department is working to be more transparent by implementing new weapon-mounted cameras. I got to take a look at the new technology coming to the department and what this means for the community as it relates to officers deploying their service weapon. Somerville Police Chief Jake Sullivan's goal since taking the position back in October 2020 has been regaining the trust of the community. In his latest effort, the police department will be deploying weapon-mounted cameras to the department's firearms.
It gives an opportunity to present transparency to our community, another level to hold offenders accountable with additional video, and an opportunity for our officers to be able to show how and why they made those decisions from a true vision perspective.
With the support from City Council and the City Manager's Office, Somerville PD is one of 9 agencies in the state of Texas that will be using weapon-mounted cameras. This technology provides an unobstructed view of critical use of force events from the end of the firearm.
We've seen time and time again where there's not adequate evidence from what occurred during a shooting, why an officer had to shoot. This camera is designed specifically to capture an officer-involved shooting and show what really happened during that event.
Driver, step out of the car with your hands up!
According to a Washington Post report, as of today, 957 people have been shot and killed by police in the past year. With the rise of officer-involved shootings here in the Brazos Valley, Sullivan says the department will be transparent and release the gun cam video to the community to help them understand how and why the officer made the decision in the incident of an officer-involved shooting.
Once it goes through vetting, obviously through an investigative process, as you well know, sometimes we hold that information temporarily, but ultimately that will be released to the public as soon as possible.
Somerville PD will continue using body and dash cameras, but the weapon-mounted cameras will help eliminate risk of failure to manually turn on a camera during a critical event, as the camera automatically activates when the officer draws the firearm.
There's 3 main parts to this product. One, it's going to always turn on as soon as an officer draws his firearm. The second item is that it's never going to have an obstructed view when he's in a shooting position like a body cam can have. And 3 is that it's inexpensive and easy for them to implement and to manage.
Veridian is working continuously to expand their products throughout the state and the country. New tonight, a high-speed police chase spanning 2 counties came to an end this afternoon inside a Conroe neighborhood. Montgomery County Police say it all started in Walker County around 3 o'clock, where authorities chased a speeding vehicle on Interstate 45, reaching speeds of over 100 miles an hour. The driver of the stolen vehicle took a detour through a neighborhood, eventually crashing into a K-9 unit.
The vehicle entered into a residence off of Honey, Egypt. At that time, deputies again were still attempting to make the vehicle stop. The suspect rammed into one of the vehicles in his attempt to get away, one of the sheriff's office vehicles and also one of the precinct 1 vehicles. At that time, the vehicle had become disabled and the deputies were able to take the suspect into custody.
Police say 36-year-old John David Neighbors has been taken into custody. They say Neighbors also had 11 unrelated open felony warrants for his arrest. He's currently behind bars in the Montgomery County Jail. Texas Land Commissioner George P. Bush says he's suing the Biden administration. Bush says the White House is illegally preventing construction of the border wall. He says Congress set aside over $5 billion for fencing and walls along the Mexico border. Now the funds are in jeopardy after President Biden canceled contracts early this year. The General Land Office controls nearly 500,000 acres along the border. Changes coming at the speed of light. That's what Bryan residents can expect soon for fiber internet. Executives for MetroNet met with Bryan city leaders today. They discussed new plans for internet, TV, and phone services for the Brazos Valley. Bryan's chief information officer says bringing MetroNet to the Brazos Valley will be life-changing for decades.
This is huge. I can't say it. The word is so small to what the impact is going to be. The quality of life in the community, the opportunities for people.
MetroNet is the second option for internet in the region with Suddenlink, but the city is looking at the possibility of adding more providers to the Brazos Valley.
Anybody else is welcome to come. We're not preventing anyone from coming. We are doing nothing financially for this company. Nothing. The only thing we are doing is following our policies that we have in place today. The guidelines, the permitting process, you name it. We changed nothing for this company to come. And that's very important because it's open to competition and we'll treat everybody the same.
MetroNet will provide Aggieland with 10 gigabyte speeds to both businesses and residents and cover at least 90% of the Bryan area. Instagram is launching a new feature to protect accounts that may have been hacked. It's called Security Checkup, and it will guide you through the steps needed to secure your account if you think it was hacked. While Instagram recommends Security Checkup, they also say there are other things people should do, including using two-factor authentication and keeping phone and email contact information updated.
There's a new focus on elders with diverse backgrounds living with dementia.
This is really important because African Americans and Hispanics have nearly twice the risk of developing dementia compared to their white counterparts.
Johns Hopkins research scientist Lauren Parker is also on the equity task for the Bold Center of Excellence on Dementia Caregiving. It's housed at the University of Minnesota and was recently designated by the CDC as one of 3 national public health centers aimed at reducing dementia risk. Their center focuses on dementia support. Recently, they hosted a first webinar on the importance of cultural adaptation in dementia caregiving.
One of the things that really excites me about adult day service programs is that it is the most racially and ethnically diverse home and community-based support.
In her research, Parker visited adult day centers from Maryland to Miami. She talked with families about how cultural programs have made them feel more comfortable using support services, helping to improve a loved one's experience.
One of the things that was attractive to them about the adult day service program that they selected is that it did focus on the diverse needs of African Americans. And she said that she felt more comfortable, for example, placing her mother in that type of position. And she didn't feel like she was letting her mother down, but she was getting also the support that she needed and some time away to take care of her needs.
Cultural adaptation and caregiving can mean offering different types of food, music, activities, and language-based services specific to a person's race and heritage. Bold Center of Excellence on Dementia Caregiving can help adapt or implement diverse caregiving programs specific to a certain community. They're planning 2 other webinars on African American and Hispanic caregiving support, and then one specific to Asian American and Native Alaskan culture. You can find all that information at bolddementiacaregiving.org. Well, still to come in our lineup, a push to change the decades-old standards for the strengths of car seat backs.
In the hospital and inpatient rehab, we realized that we weren't alone, and there were a lot of people. Light bulb went off that said, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with vehicles.
Their daughter was severely hurt after the front seat collapsed on top of her in a rear-end crash. What they're doing now to try and prevent this from happening to other families.
The Brazos Valley region is facing lower than normal temperatures, but the heat is still dangerous. After the break, we find out how to prevent heat stroke and what to do if someone has one. Now let's get a check of the weather with First Alert Chief Meteorologist Matt Hines.
And we did see some scattered showers and thunderstorms across the area earlier. Things have quieted down with the loss of daytime heating, kind of in this pattern of that sea breeze front coming in every afternoon. And that may continue for the rest of the week. Currently partly cloudy skies out there, 81 degrees, feeling like 86. So yeah, it's humid. And winds are out of the east at 3 miles per hour. But it's nice to get that little surge of cooler air coming in each afternoon. So it takes us from the 90s down into the 80s. We'll take this trend as long as we can. And again, it was spotty across the area today. Your rain total showing the heaviest northwest of town and then also off to the east as well near Madisonville. We did miss out on a lot of it here in Bryan College Station, kind of split and went around us. As we check out clouds and radar now, you can see everything has pushed well to the north, dying out. very quickly as we've lost the daytime heating here, but we did have those showers and thunderstorms move in. Sea breeze front made it well inland today. It originates down here all along the Gulf Coast. When the land heats up, it comes off the Gulf of Mexico and then rides its way off to the northwest, and it's been pretty strong here over the past couple of days. We may see it again as things have quieted down now. No thunderstorm activity, and then as we move into tomorrow, notice a little more green and some yellows on there, so we could see some scattered showers and thunderstorms once again. About 20 to 30% chance of rain each and every day here as we move into Friday as well. So still some heavier downpours will be possible here and there. Some folks will see it one day, then it'll move on to some other folks the other day. So hopefully everyone will get to benefit from some nice rainfall. Keep that sprinkler system off for a while. Tonight, temperatures will be dipping down into the 70s, 73 for Bryan College Station, same for Madisonville and over toward Rockdale and Cameron. Then tomorrow, highs into the lower 90s pretty much. But again, add about 5 to 6 degrees to that with the humidity, and that's what it's going to feel like. So it'll feel like the upper 90s across our region. And your 10-day forecast showing isolated thunderstorm threat, highs into the 90s, and that will continue into the weekend. We may bump those temperatures up a little bit more, around 93 degrees. Still, that's below normal. We're supposed to be 94, 95. Then as we move into next week, how about some more scattered storms on the way, especially Tuesday and Wednesday?
Texas health officials say 210 people died in February's winter storms. The storms wreaked havoc across the state, causing widespread power outages. Most people died from hypothermia. Other causes of death include car accidents, carbon monoxide poisoning, falls, and fire. Health officials say the numbers could change as they gather more information. The Brazos Valley is still seeing lower than normal temperatures for this time of year, but if you stay out too long, you could still be impacted by heat stroke, something that could be deadly. The best way to prevent it, stay hydrated, take breaks from the sun, and wear light, loose clothing. Symptoms of heat stroke include a high body temperature, hot, red skin, a fast, strong pulse, headache, dizziness, nausea, and confusion. If someone has heat stroke, call 911 immediately, move the person to a cooler place, and apply cool water on them. The Red Cross says not to give them anything to drink.
It's been decades since regulators updated the safety standards around the front seat backs in cars. Legislation moving through the House and Senate would require stronger car seat backs. It's called the Modernizing Seat Back Safety Act. The concern is seats collapsing during rear-end crashes and hurting or killing passengers in the back seat.
So you don't hear that from anybody, that front seats deflect backwards and encroach into the headspace of your most precious cargo, which is sitting directly behind you.
Jason and Michelle Frazier's daughter, Jay Frey, was sitting in the back seat back in 2016 when a driver rear-ended their car. The front seat collapsed on top of her, fracturing her skull. She's been in rehab for years since the crash and is currently nonverbal, restricted to a wheelchair. Her parents are pushing for the improved standards for car seat backs.
We're sort of part of a club we never wanted to join. But now we have a voice to, for these kids that
we've met many others. Mm-hmm. It's not just us.
Mm-hmm. But, the louder and the more that we get the message out there, the more impetus there is for change to happen and for it to happen quickly.
Now, it's hard to know just how often these seatback failures are happening. The Center for Auto Safety tells us the majority of police accident reports don't have a spot to record these failures. The main fatality database used by the federal government also doesn't have a code for these types of failures. An analysis on behalf of the Center for Auto Safety found an average of 50 children a year are killed by these seatback failures. But adult deaths or injuries to kids or adults was not included in the study. So the nonprofit believes the numbers are likely far higher, with Jay Frey and others are taken into account.
If she could verbalize it, she would say, help me help other children not have to go through what I've been through. She would want that.
We really need people to reach out to their senators and to their congresspeople. That's your voice. You have that. Everybody's got that. And it's a quick call. It's an email. And say, we need to fix this seat back issue.
And in the short term, the Fraziers recommend families put their kids in the middle of the back so they're not sitting directly behind the front seats. There are also new demands for safety improvements to certain child car seats. Attorneys general in 17 states and Washington, D.C. just sent a letter to federal transportation agencies urging them to take swift action on booster seats. An investigation last year by ProPublica showed that some booster seats got a passing grade, even though the child dummies were violently tossed around. They want updated side impact crash test standards and better labeling standards for these seats. Well, farms that have been growing citrus for years are turning to a new crop. Next in our lineup, the potential they see in growing hemp instead. Until recently, farmers who wanted to grow hemp in the U.S. faced a lot of hurdles. And that all changed when a federal law passed back in 2018, loosening restrictions. Now, as Maya Rodriguez shows us, hemp production is increasing in some places you may not expect.
It's a 21st century greenhouse.
And I just like the idea that we can do it all year long.
For an ancient crop.
It's a plant that'll capture you.
For Glenn Treadwell of Treadwell Farms, that plant is hemp. His family has been farming in Florida for more than a century. But hemp,
it's one of the harder plants to grow,
is a more recent addition.
You just have to have the right processes, and that's what we had to learn, and people taught us, and we're trying to teach other people is the right way to handle it.
Jamie Treadwell is Glenn's daughter and the next generation of Treadwell farmers.
We have over 50 acres in production. We grow at the times of the year when other parts of the country can't.
After bursting onto the farming scene around the country several years ago, hemp production declined. But that's expected to change, with the U.S. market for hemp projected to triple by 2027, with Colorado, Arizona, California, Kentucky, Michigan, New York, and Florida among the top 10 hemp-growing states. And in Florida, where citrus is king, state agriculture officials say within the next 4 years, hemp farming is expected to grow to half the size of the state's citrus acreage.
So we've been known for growing citrus all these years. And unfortunately, with the greening and the other viruses, the production of citrus has dramatically dropped.
Hemp may help fill in that gap, says Holly Bell, Director of Cannabis for the Florida Department of Agriculture, which oversees the Fresh from Florida hemp program.
You're getting something that's regulated, monitored, tested through the entire system, and it's safe for consumer consumption.
Which is why under that program, Treadwell Farms isn't just growing hemp, but branching out into creating hemp products. And it's happening inside a former citrus processing facility.
Earrings that I'm wearing are made from hemp. My jeans are made of 50% hemp. There's so many possibilities.
Possibilities they hope will pay off. In Eustis, Florida, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
Blight and how to get rid of it is an issue cities nationwide are grappling with. Its impact can cost the city millions of dollars in lost property tax revenue and lead to an increase in crime. Well, Chris Stewart has how developers in one community are finding a unique way to fight blight with what they call Buy Back the Block.
Seeing these properties that I used to drive by as a kid, used to see burnt down buildings and houses where people are selling drugs, and you got homeless people staying in these properties.
The emptiness of an abandoned lot can be filled with the problems that plague a community.
Vacant lots, sometimes, people are dumping garbage or, doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
I'm tired of seeing empty lots.
But in these lots on the south side of Chicago,
I've never left. So I was born here, I was raised here, I went to school here.
Bonita Harrison sees a future.
I see a family that can't be here. I see kids that can't play. That's what I see.
It's a vision she shares with the group you see here.
We can build something and put homeowners in there.
We all have an affinity to the south side of Chicago and making it a better place to live.
Southside natives who came together to buy these 13 vacant lots in the West Woodlawn neighborhood.
Even though it is a 100% black community, we own less than 30% of the real estate.
Their vision is to build affordable, multi-family homes.
The significance to us is not just a dollar. It's about the value that we bring to the neighborhood, because we bring value in multiple ways.
To buy this land, they used the Cook County Land Bank, an organization started in the wake of the housing crisis to fight blight that buys properties, often vacant, and sells them to developers that can give them life again.
They really have leveled the playing field for us. They've stepped in and basically been able to give us access to the properties that we as smaller investors wouldn't have had.
But this group believes the true impact of what will fill this land comes from the power of who is behind it.
We're looking at recycling the black dollar, leaving an example in the presence for our youth and the neighbors and around the neighborhood to see that, again, this is for us, by us.
Housing is a complicated issue in both cities and suburbs nationwide. In places like the South Side, it can be hard to find the exact number of lots that are vacant. But for this group, dedicated to bringing positive change to where they call home, they say it's not just about the structure you build, but the people who will call it their own.
What it means to me personally is that I've made a change in not just my neighborhood, but in somebody else's life.
Chris, thank you for that report. McDonald's franchises are planning to offer better benefits to draw in more workers. On that list is emergency child care, paid time off, health with covering tuition cost, and higher pay. Entry-level positions will be able to make up to $17 an hour and management jobs up to $20 an hour. This will be based on the location of the restaurant. A lot of jobs are staying remote or adapting a hybrid work model. It's something many Americans are happy about. A recent survey from Slack shows only 12% of office workers want to go back full time. But it's a different story for those who just started entering the workforce. Generation Lab tracks trends affecting younger people and found 40% of college students and recent grads would prefer in-person work. 74% said they fear missing out on being a part of a workplace community the most.
That's an intangible, doesn't necessarily show up in the paycheck, but obviously just fundamental factor number two is mentorship. So again, two sort of intangible things that you need to develop over time, especially early on in the career, that seems to be driving this pretty stilted difference between young people and the general public.
Remote and hybrid work also has the potential to impact promotion opportunities for Gen Z workers. If they're up against someone who had the chance to work in person and build a network with coworkers and managers, their chances may not be as good. It's something Generation Lab plans to keep tracking, along with the other impacts to remote and hybrid work.
We're going to do a lot of longitudinal research on how this specific cohort does in terms of wading into the workforce and over time, and how they develop both in terms of skills, satisfaction, pay. Like, these are all really essential stuff that we'll have to study.
One advantage to remote work for Gen Z is familiarity with technology. Most had to finish college online and are already used to accomplishing work that way. But that could also be contributing to how Gen Z is defining a work-life balance. When asked by Generation Lab, most said they didn't view achieving the balance by separating the two, but by blending them together. Rent prices are rising across the country, but would you trade in your parking spot to pay less? Some cities are dropping those parking requirements for developers and see this as a model that could go nationwide. Tomorrow, we're looking into the cost savings from doing this.
Jimmy Kimmel is up next. Good Morning Texas is on the air tomorrow at 5 a.m. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.